By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Bye.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Bible study, another Bible review. My name is Uzi Alewi, one of the teachers of Congregation Beit Da'at CHOKMAH BINAH. We're located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth, Most High, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking all of you for joining us, for being here with us, for allowing us to reach you in your homes, and for on this Yom Rishon, or this Sunday, as most of us know it, and for allowing us just to reach you in your homes on this day when most people are preparing. I hope that everyone had a good fast. Those of us who kept the fast, also that everyone is looking forward to the upcoming season that's coming up, Chag Sukkot, which will be a time where we dwell in booths and we have to build little booths in order to dwell in them for the 7-day period that the Most High God commanded us, to remind us of what our ancestors went through in the wilderness. So hoping and praying that all of you are in good spirits, that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of us, and that the Most High God will give us the energy, the strength, and the power to get through, to strengthen us, that the Creator of heaven and earth be with all those who are sick, the downtrodden, the poor, the needy, the fatherless, the widow, that he will bless all of us wherever we might be, that he will bless one of my friends, even Ezra, that he would help him to get up from the bed after being in an accident, praying that the Most High God would heal him, hear the cries and supplications, that the Most High God will have mercy upon him, and even cause him to be strengthened. So even in this time of need, so we thank the Most High God for all things and everything. How's everyone doing out there? Don't forget that a like doesn't cost you anything. Just hit the like button. Also, in order to comment, you have to be subscribed for at least a week. Now, the reason why we did that is because we were getting a lot of bad, links here, inappropriate links that people were posting here. It was these bots. So we had to put a preventative method in order to stop that. So that preventative method became us not allowing people to comment unless they were subscribed for a week. Now, if you're subscribed for a week, then we know that you're invested and that you're here, right? So someone also asked me to give out a WhatsApp for those people that might not want to subscribe, and I don't think so. But we will give out an email, info@beitdcb.org. That's info@beitdcb.org. Sister Kanzi, can you type that in the room so that way we can could do what we got to, people could also contact us that way. Check the email. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for being here with us. We thank the Creator of heaven and earth for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Thanking the Creator for the fast that a lot of us observed yesterday. And for those who are, I believe, observing it when the sun go down, may the Most High God give you, allow you to have a good fast also. So thank you the Most High God for life, food, clothing, and shelter once again. And we're going to get into the topic of the Feast of Booths. better known as Chag Sukkot. And for that, I will pass it on to my brother, Rabbi Chief Binyamin. How are you, Rabbi?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Hopefully you are, along with everyone that is listening. Of course, giving praise and honor to Jehovah God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, and thanking him for this opportunity that he is giving us in order to open up his word this day, and just praying that he will bless us all with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as we attempt to traverse his word this day. And as we do so every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time on this channel. So we just invite everyone to share with your family and your friends. This Bible study is open to everyone that utilizes the Bible as the foundation of their belief. So again, we do thank the Most High for allowing us the opportunity to have this Bible study weekly. And again, praying that he would open up all of our eyes as we study together in order to realize the things that we are supposed to be doing and to help us to refrain from the things that we should not be doing. So today we're going to be talking about the Feast of Booths, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles. And you'll hear it or read it in either translation, depending on which book you're reading or which translation of the Bible that you're reading. So it is coming up this week. So since it is coming up this week, we will be discussing it today. So in order to do so, first we're going to talk about where it first appears in the Holy Scriptures, and that would be in the book of Exodus, chapter 23. Now, starting in verse 14, it says, 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread as I commanded thee, at the time appointed in the month of Abib, for in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors which thou sowest in the field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when thou gatherest in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in a year all thy males shall appear before the Lord Yahweh. So within verse 16, we see that the original name of the Feast of Booths that we are observing, that we are speaking about today, that we will be observing this week, is called the Feast of Ingathering. The three festivals, or a translation as feast, as we see here in many of the Bible translations, are also in connection with agricultural harvest. So this one is called the Feast of Ingathering towards the end of the year, because this is where many of the fruits, especially within the land that the children of Israel were going into, or that region overall, not just the land in particular, but that region overall, which is known as the Middle East today. This would be the fruit harvest, which will come in, towards the end of the year, before, even though the winter months don't get as cold as it is in other regions, primarily the Northern Hemisphere, but they do have some of what we would call a winter season. And then, with the temperatures getting colder and the rain starting to pick up, this is also the beginning of a planting season, or to be nearing the beginning of a planting season for the crops that will be coming up in the new year. Again, this is talking about that region, or the new year, or that springtime. So again, the original name is the Feast of Ingathering, and it's talking about 3 feasts, and this is one of the feasts, or one of the festivals that has to be observed primarily by the children of Israel, but also, as we read within the laws, it's for the homeborn as well as for the stranger. And in particular, as we read in verse 17, all the males of the children of Israel had to appear before Jehovah God during these festivals, and not empty, as is also said earlier within the reading that we mentioned. And as always, we mention that we do pronounce the name of God in the appropriate places that they appear within the Holy Scriptures. So in verse 17, we see the name of God towards the end at the actual end of the verse. We pronounce the name as Yehovah. Many people pronounce the name as Yahweh. In Hebrew, it's the consonants Yod, He, Waw, He, which corresponds to YHWH. So again, as we're doing our reading, we pronounce the name of God so that we know that the God that is speaking to us, so speaking to us through his word, through the Bible text, and we know the God that we are speaking about. Next, we're going to go to Exodus chapter 34, which overall is a repetition of the many ideas that we read in Exodus chapter 23. This is after Moses came down from the mountain again, Mount Sinai, and received a second set of tablets. And he reiterated, this is part of the covenant that was given to the children of Israel. So it mentions here in verse, let's read 21 first. 6 days thou shalt work, but on the seventh day thou shalt rest. In plowing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. So we know in verse 21 that it's talking about the Sabbath day. Then in verse 22 it says, and thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, even of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times in the year shall all thy males appear before the Lord Jehovah, the God of Israel. So again, it's called the Feast of Ingathering, which happens as this translation here, at the turn of the year. And now we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 23, where we will get more of a description of this Feast of Ingathering, but also where we will get the name of it being called the Feast of Booths. So actually, we'll start from the beginning of, just read the first few verses in Leviticus chapter 23. So Leviticus chapter 23 tells us about the appointed seasons of Jehovah God. So it starts off by saying, and Jehovah spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, the appointed seasons of Jehovah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my appointed seasons. So again, this chapter is talking about all of the appointed seasons that are holy convocations that Jehovah God has said that the children of Israel should proclaim in their seasons. Verse 3 is talking about the Sabbath day, as it makes a break within the chapter, within the discussion of the chapter. Then in verse 4, it repeats, these are the appointed seasons of Jehovah, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their appointed season. So all of the seasons that are mentioned here and after, the Sabbath day, as we mentioned in the verse prior, of course, occurs every 7th day of the week. But now these are other appointed seasons occur on particular dates in the year on the Hebrew calendar, with the exception of the Feast of Weeks, which is done based on the count from a harvest and the offering that is done. So we're gonna, as we are speaking about the Feast of Booths or the Feast of Tabernacles, again, your Bible might have either translation. We're gonna begin in verse 33, where it says here, and Jehovah spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, on the 15th day of this 7th month is the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Jehovah. On the first day shall be a holy convocation, you shall do no manner of servile work. 7 days you shall bring an offering made by fire unto Jehovah. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall bring an offering made by fire unto Jehovah. It is a day of solemn assembly. You shall do no manner of servile work. These are the appointed seasons of Jehovah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to bring an offering made by fire unto Jehovah, a burnt offering and a meal offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, each on its own day. Beside the Sabbath of Jehovah, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your freewill offerings, which you give unto Jehovah. Howbeit on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruits of the land, you shall keep the feast of Jehovah 7 days. On the first day shall be a solemn rest. On the 8th day shall be a solemn rest. And you shall take you on the first day the fruit of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Jehovah your God 7 days. And you shall keep it a feast unto Jehovah 7 days in the year. It is a statute forever in your generations. You shall keep it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are homeborn in Israel shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Jehovah your God. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the appointed seasons of Jehovah. So that collection of verses, as it brings the entire chapter to a conclusion, talking about the appointed seasons, which are the appointed seasons, which are holy convocations that Jehovah God has said the children of Israel should proclaimed within their seasons. This one, which we saw, was called the Feast of Ingathering in the prior 2 chapters that we read. Here we get the name of the Feast of Tabernacles, or again, in some translations, you'll see the Feast of Booths. It's Chag Sukkot. Sukkot and is the Hebrew word, which comes from, so Sukkot is actually a plural word in Hebrew, just like when in English, where you would add the letter S or suffix the letter S to the end of a word or many words in English to make it plural. Sukkot is a plural word coming from the singular word sukkah, which you'll see on the right-hand side. It's a thicket, covered, or a booth. So that's where get a translation of booth, and just later on in the, as we scroll down on the right-hand side, Sukkot means booths. So that is the translation. So when you hear Chag Sukkot, or the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles, is talking about the booths that the children of Israel are commanded to dwell in for those 7 days, as it mentions it at the end of the chapter. In verse 42, it says, "You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are homeborn in Israel shall dwell in booths." So, but starting again from the beginning of the conversation, the Festival of Booths, as we'll call it at this time, it lasts for 7 days, and it starts on the 15th day of the 7th month. And this 7th month is based on the Hebrew calendar, and the Hebrew calendar starts with a month called Abib, which begins in the springtime. So that is also the month that the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt. So when you read in Exodus chapter 12, it says that that month is the beginning of months unto the children of Israel, is the first of the months of the year, as Jehovah God has proclaimed to the children of Israel right before they were brought forth out of the land of Egypt. So and the Hebrew calendar is based on the new moon. So the beginning of every month is marked with a new moon. So starting with the first month Abib, then you count the new moons after that, you get to the 7th new moon, which is the 7th month. Then on the 15th day of the 7th month, which normally would coincide, if you have a new moon starting the beginning of a month, then normally you're going to have a full moon in the middle of the month. So the 15th day is usually marked, the 14th to 15th day of any lunar cycle or lunar month is usually marked with a full moon. So the 15th day of the 7th month begins the feast of, or the Festival of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles, as we read it here within this translation. The first day in particular is a holy convocation, which no manner of servile work should be done. So the work that is allowed would be the work that needs to be done for food, as we see the template being given unto us when in reference to the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when we read it in Exodus chapter 12, where it said that no manner of work shall be done, save that which every man must eat. So for the food, for any work that is required to make food or to cook food, that is allowed on this particular holy convocation. So again, the first day, so the 15th day of the 7th month is a holy day. There's a holy convocation. So again, it's a day that we refrain from labor. It's a day that we refrain from going to work. It's a day that we refrain from going to school. A day that we refrain from any personal activity that would be deemed not holy. It's not a day for secular activity. Again, it is a holy convocation. It's a day of a holy convocation. So many gatherings will take place throughout the day in various congregations. And also it is the beginning of the Feast of Booths. Now, we're not living in a time where the rest of the description, this particular description in verse 36 is done. But normally, if the priests were available out of the line of Aaron, and we were in the location that Jehovah God has caused his name to be called, which is the temple or the house that Solomon built, then offerings would be presented for 7 days. But in lieu of that, the 15th day of the 7th month is still a holy day, and it's a holy day even before the offerings would be performed on that day. So in all generations and all locations, the 15th day of the 7th month on the Hebrew calendar is a holy day. And again, what has to be done is that the children of Israel would dwell in booths for those 7 days. And what they would do is based on what we read in verse 40, taking the fruit of goodly trees, the branches of the palm trees, the boughs of thick trees, and the willows of the brook, and building the booths with them. As we get to when we read the book of Nehemiah, we'll get a description or understanding of that. And again, it's to be kept as a feast to Jehovah for 7 days in the year, as a statute forever in your generations. You shall keep it in the 7th month. So again, irregardless of the offerings not being performed, the day is still, the first day of this festival is holy, and the festival has to be kept for 7 days. And the children of Israel should dwell in booths for 7 days. Next, we're going to go to the book of Numbers, chapter 29. And Numbers chapters 28 and 29 actually describe the offerings that are performed on these appointed seasons, or on these holy convocations, and it gives it in detail. Because when you read in Leviticus chapter 23, it talks about all of the appointed seasons. Again, it mentions the holy convocations, and it says that an offering has to be performed on each of them. So when you read Numbers chapters 28 and 29, it gives in detail all of the offerings that would be performed on each of those holy convocations. So in Numbers chapter 29, we jump into verse 12, where it says, on the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no manner of servile work, and you shall keep a feast unto Jehovah 7 days. Again, that's a repetition of what we just read in Leviticus chapter 23. So again, it's repeated. We know that the 15th day of the 7th month, and again, this is based on the Hebrew calendar, is a holy convocation at which no manner of servile work should be done. And we have to keep it as a festival or as a feast for 7 days. Verses 13 on give a description of all of the offerings that would be performed on each day, from the first day until the 7th day. Each day has a particular set of offerings. They differ slightly day by day, but in this particular chapter, it gives the details of what's supposed to be done on each of the 7 days. But it's worth mentioning that this is the chapter that talks about the offerings that will be performed by the priests on during the Feast of Booths, or the Festival of Tabernacles. Next, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. And towards the end of this chapter, well, Deuteronomy chapter 16 talks specifically about the 3 festivals, or the 3 feasts that take place during the year, that was starting or originally mentioned in Exodus chapters 23 and 34. It's again, Deuteronomy chapter 16 is speaking specifically about the festivals and not the other holy convocations that occur throughout the year. So in Deuteronomy chapter 16, when we get to verse 13, it says, thou shalt keep the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that, thou hast gathered in from thy threshing floor and from thy winepress. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant and the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a feast unto Jehovah thy God in the place which Jehovah shall choose, because Jehovah thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase and in all the work of thy hands, and thou shalt be altogether joyful. 3 times in the year shall all thy males appear before Jehovah thy God in the place which he shall choose, on the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and on the Feast of Weeks, and on the Feast of Tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Jehovah empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Jehovah thy God, which he hath given thee. So the end of this chapter, again, is talking about the Feast of Tabernacles, Chag Sukkot, again, as it is mentioned or in Hebrew. And actually just to get a definition of Chag, which should give it, it's going to give, on the right-hand side, you'll see it's a festival. That's the definition of Chag. Chag is, again, the Hebrew word, and it is a festival, also translated as feast or festival gathering or pilgrim feast, or again, a feast or a festival sacrifice. So that is what a Chag is. And again, Sukkot, as we mentioned earlier, is booths. It's talking specifically about the booths that the children of Israel would dwell in and have to dwell in for 7 days. And the children of Israel are commanded to rejoice in the feast for those 7 days. And along with that, there would be offerings that would be performed, and that's what could only be done in the location that Jehovah God has chosen. But Beyond that, as we read in the previous chapters, the day is still holy. On the first day, the first day is holy, but the entire festival lasts for 7 days, and everybody has to rejoice before Jehovah God. And again, if offerings were available, that's when the males of the children of Israel would appear before Jehovah God in the place which he has chosen on these particular festivals. But it doesn't mean that these festivals are not to be kept or observed outside of that location and beyond the ability to present the offerings. Because again, these days are holy regardless of that. We're going to go to the book of Nehemiah. And Nehemiah is during, we're actually going to go to chapter 8. But Nehemiah is during the time of the end of the Persian captivity of the children of Israel, where the children of Israel were initially allowed to return out of that captivity by King Cyrus, who made the proclamation and allowed the children of Israel to return to Jerusalem and the territories of Judah in order to rebuild Jerusalem and the cities round about it and rebuild the house of God in order to establish the nation once again. And throughout a period of time after that wave of people got back, then you had Ezra and Nehemiah, who was part of the following generation that returned to the land in order to rebuild Jerusalem. And Nehemiah himself, he was the governor of the children of Israel during that time. So we're going to go into Nehemiah chapter 8, which is also going to talk about the Festival of Tabernacles, or the Festival of Booths. So beginning in verse 1 of chapter 8, all the people gathered themselves together as one man in the broad place that was before the water gate. And they spoke unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which Jehovah had commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, upon the first day of the 7th month. And he read therein before the broad place that was before the water gate from early morning until midday, in the presence of the men and the women, and of those that could understand it, and the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. So again, as the children of Israel were returning to the land, or again, the second generation that returned to the land and were reestablishing themselves as a nation, the way that the children of Israel reestablished themselves, or established themselves, period, as a nation, is by returning to the law of Jehovah God, which is also known, especially if we read here, as the law of Moses, because Jehovah God gave his law or his instructions to Moses to give to the children of Israel. So it makes a distinction between what other people may think is the law or the Torah by calling it the law of Moses, because again, Moses was known as the lawgiver because Jehovah God spoke directly to Moses to give these instructions to the children of Israel. So they were reading within the book of the law on the first day of the 7th month. And we're going to go towards the end because they found out that the first day of the 7th month was a holy day. So then they had stopped their reading. Everybody went to enjoy the holy day. And it says in verse 13, as we continue in verse 13, and on the second day were gathered together the heads of fathers' houses of all the people, the priests and the Levites, unto Ezra the scribe, even to give attention to the words of the law. So that, again, they had stopped the reading of the law on the first day of the 7th month when they found out that that day was holy, and they went forth to just enjoy the day itself. But they came back on the second day of that 7th month in order that they could continue reading in the book of the law, so that they can find out of the things that they were missing, the things that they were doing wrong, so they could correct their wrongs and return to Jehovah God. Again, that is how we return to Jehovah God, by reading his law and finding out the things that we're supposed to be doing and refraining from the things that we are not supposed to be doing as it is written. So it says in verse 14, and they found written in the law how that Jehovah had commanded by Moses that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month, and that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount and fetch olive branches and branches of wild olive and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of thick trees to make booths, as it is written. So again, what they were reading is exactly what we were reading in Leviticus chapter 23, where Jehovah God mentioned to go and fetch all of these branches from these various trees, and as it says here, to make booths, as it is written. So that is the understanding of when you're getting those, what is known today as the 4 kinds. getting those 4 items, or those 4, different branches or wooden items from the various trees in order to build booths. So that is what the booths that the children of Israel were dwelling in. That is what it was made out of, as what we read in Deuteronomy chapter 16, in order that the children of Israel may remember how they were traveling in the desert or traveling in the wilderness for those 40 years, and how Jehovah God caused them to travel. Because again, the booths are actually, it's a portable structure, it's a portable house. It's stronger than a tent, because the tent is just made out of cloth material normally. But when you're building a booth, you're building it out of wooden materials, out of the branches of trees, and it gives more protection, and it's a stronger protection as people were dwelling for extended period of time in the desert. It's what we would know today as a hut. So a booth, again, just to give a modern day translation, is a hut. So it says in verse 16, so the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, every one upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in the courts of the house of God, and in the broad place of the water gate, and in the broad place of the gate of Ephraim. And all the congregation of them that were come back out of the captivity made booths and dwelt in the booths. For since the days of Joshua the son of Nun until that day, had not the children of Israel done so, and there was very great gladness. Also day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read in the book of the law of God, and they kept the feast 7 days. So they kept the festival as it was specified the same way we read it in Leviticus chapter 23. That is the same law that they read and were returning to. And they kept the festival for the feast for 7 days. They continued reading in the book of the law, because they knew that there were other things that they had to learn or relearn for themselves in order for them to be established as a nation for Jehovah God to return to them. So the same way, even today, as many of us are reading this Bible, and there are many things that we don't know. And as we've been going through this Bible weekly, every Sunday for the missing a few Sundays, here and there throughout the last year and a half, almost 2 years. That is the same way that they were doing then. It's an opportunity for us to reestablish ourselves, an opportunity to learn what the Most High God wants us to do. Again, there are a lot of things that many of us, we don't know that's in the Bible. And as we read it, it comes to our understanding, and then we learn that these are the things that we're supposed to be doing. And then there were also things that we may have been doing that we learned that we shouldn't have been doing. And that's how we make repentance to the Most High God, by learning of the thing, by reading in his law, reading in the first 5 books of the Bible, which is where the law of Moses is contained, and learning of these things that we're supposed to be doing. So also, or actually in conclusion, we're going to read Zechariah chapter 14, which is talking about a time, and as we come to the conclusion, we're just going to go through this pretty fast, but this is also talking about, within this chapter, the festival of booths, or the feast of booths, as it's going to be observed in the future time when Jehovah God restores the children of Israel. So behold, the day of Jehovah comes, when thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravaged, and the half of the city shall go forth into captivity, but the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall Jehovah go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fights in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall be cleft in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, so that they shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And ye shall flee in the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azel. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And Jehovah my God shall come, and all the holy ones with thee. And it shall come to pass in that day that there shall not be light, but heavy clouds and thick. And there shall be one day which shall be known as Jehovah's, not day and not night. But it shall come to pass at an evening time there shall be light. And it shall come to pass in that day that the living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea, and half of them toward the western sea. In summer and in winter shall it be. And Jehovah shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall Jehovah be one, and his name one. All the land shall be turned as the Arabah, from Geba to Rimmon south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel unto the king's wine presses. And men shall dwell therein, and there shall be no more extermination, but Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this shall be the plague wherewith Jehovah shall smite all the people that have warred against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their sockets, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. It shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from Jehovah shall be among them, and they shall lay hold everyone on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight against Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the nations round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver, apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in those camps as this plague. It shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations shall come against Jerusalem, shall go up from year to year to worship the King, Jehovah of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso of the families of the earth goeth not up unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Jehovah of hosts, upon them there shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, they shall have no overflow. There shall be the plague wherewith Jehovah will smite the nation that go not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that go not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses, holy unto Jehovah, and the pots in Jehovah's house shall be like the bases before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holy unto Jehovah of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and sieve therein. And in that day there shall be no more a trafficker in the house of Jehovah of hosts. So again, it's a lot that's in this chapter that we're not actually going to be speaking about today. We're just focusing today on the Feast of Tabernacles. But again, this chapter is talking about an era that is going to be happening in the future when the children of Israel are restored to the land. But it mentions here particularly that during that time, in the future, all the nations of the earth will have to worship before Jehovah God in the Feast of Tabernacles, as it mentions here specifically. And if any of the nations of the earth do not go to Jerusalem year by year to worship Jehovah God during the Feast of Tabernacles, they will receive a plague. And it mentions Egypt particularly, that because the country of Egypt doesn't depend primarily on rain in order to have their crops grown, but they depend on the overflow of the Nile, then Jehovah God said that he would not cause the Nile to overflow its banks in order for the irrigation to take place to water the crops of Egypt if they don't go up into Jerusalem to worship Jehovah God in the Feast of Tabernacles. So we see that overall, the Festival of Tabernacles, or the Festival of Booths, whichever translation you want to use, the time where the children of Israel have to dwell in booths for 7 days, that it's going to be a time where all the nations of the earth have to worship before Jehovah God as well. So at this time, we're going to allow the opportunity for people that may have questions or comments, starting with the questions and comments about this subject, as we come to the conclusion of this hour of Bible study today.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Rabbi, for that understanding and for bringing forth the wisdom. So, myself and the Rabbi have to go build a few booths today. So, we're going to get right to it. Please get all your questions out now, because we do have responsibilities. We have to go to the Knesset or to the congregation to build a booth, and we're part of the workforce. So we're trying to keep this as quick and concise. I know I'm kind of rushing everyone, but today we need to keep it to under an hour so we could get out of here and go do and serve our duties as officers in the place and do our part. All right, so I'm going to start with the same question. Why I'm saying this is, don't start throwing questions once I start wrapping up. If you see me wrapping up, save those questions for next week, or you could save them for during the, you could email it or whatever, and we'll try to answer them. So here we go. The first question. Sister Abi, is there a reason why our cousin keeps the holy days an extra day except for the Day of Atonement?
So the reason why, and the question is so for the general public, the question is in regards to Jewish people. The reason why 2 days are kept for most holy days, with the exception of the Sabbath day and the exception of the Day of Atonement. And that information is recorded in the Talmud. That's probably where you'll only be able to read that information today. Is that outside of the land of Israel, an extra day is added in order to cover some of the controversies that were occurring in the past in regards to the observance of the holy days, in regards to the announcement of the new moons. And outside of the land, especially as you travel further west, there was discrepancies and controversies in regards to how it was kept within the land of Israel and outside of the land. So at some point in time, there was an edict made, and it's basically a halakha tradition at this point, that outside of the land of Israel, that holy days will be observed for 2 days in order to cover any mistakes that could be had in regards to that. With the exception being days that say no manner of work shall be done. So those 2 days are the Sabbath day and the Day of Atonement. So based on that, you won't have 2 days that no complete work could be done twice in a row. So they don't observe the Sabbath day, of course, 2 days. You won't have it on the 7th day and the first day. And they don't observe the Day of Atonement for 2 days because, again, that is a day that no manner of work should be done, period. So they, that is, and this is just a brief, it actually goes much more into an explanation, but that's just a brief explanation in terms of why the Sabbath day and the Day of Atonement aren't kept 2 days, while on the other hand, the other days are kept for 2 days.
Next question from King Echo. Question: we are the children of Israel, but why do they celebrate it?
Everybody has to celebrate. And as we read in Zechariah chapter 14, in the future, all the nations are actually commanded to keep it. And Jehovah God specified, as we read in Zechariah chapter 14, that the nations that don't keep it, they will be plagued by getting no rain, and Egypt wouldn't get any overflow of water. So it's going to be incumbent upon all nations to keep the holy days, especially, well, in particular, the Feast of Tabernacles. But as we read throughout the first 5 books, the law is for the homeborn as well as the stranger, and the stranger being other nations.
Sister Abi, is cooking allowed on this holy day?
Yes, so cooking will be allowed on this particular holy convocation, or the holy convocation that say no manner of servile work, as opposed to no work at all. Those days cooking will be allowed. With the exception of, if those days fall on the Sabbath day, then by convention, we observe the rules of the Sabbath day if those days fall on the Sabbath day. If those holy days or those holy convocations fall on the Sabbath day.
Next question is, Sister Abi, when does the year change from 5784 to 5785?
So the change of the year would occur with the month of Abib, as that is told to the children of Israel is the beginning of months. As we read in Exodus chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, when you read within those 2 verses in Exodus chapter 12, Abib, or the month that the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt, is the beginning of months, is the first of the month. In terms of the actual count of the years, that is just a calculation. It could be correct, it could be wrong, but it's a calculation based on from creation up until now. So it's saying basically that there were 5,784 years, 84 to 85 years from creation. That's basically what that year count is saying.
So just to fill in on that, like the rabbi said, that doesn't necessarily have to be right. I don't believe that that's the age of the earth and when earth was created. But because it is a standard calendar that is used for most part by the majority of people who observe this way of life. We do try to follow the dates, especially in terms of us when we give our certificates for public naming. We try to put it under an official Hebrew calendar, and that is the most official Hebrew calendar that's out here. So I try to put it under those dates. There are some days in the calendar that were of Babylonian origin, but for the sake of it being somewhat of a legal document because it has our seal on it, we have to put a actual calendar that makes sense to people who would read a document like that in the future, if that makes any sense to anyone. All right, so that's what we do. But we do have a calendar here that a family creates that would have from the beginning of Abib, and my son got a hold of the calendar. But if you look, I don't know if you could see it. When we started in Aviv, he started at 5785. All right. So he didn't start 5785 on the 7th month. But for questions of, I know it might be a little bit confusing, but in terms of how I set up the dates on the actual stream, I will follow the more conventional calendar because for most people, this calendar is not really the although we follow it and we use it, he makes it for us every year. I just try to stay consistent with what the majority of people are following. All right, but in terms of 5785, like the rabbi said, I'm not sure if that's really the age of the earth at this point, or from the time of creation. That's just, like you said, an estimate that they took from the time of Moses being in Egypt. Then they count back a certain amount of years, Jonah, the flood, and all those things, and then they estimate that from time of creation to now is 5,785 years. Rabbi, do you want to add something to that?
No, that's it. That's pretty much it.
All right. Next question. When did the year change from 5784 to 5785? So technically, it would be in Abib. That's the correct, like I showed you in the calendar. Technically, it would have been in Abib, right? Technically, this past Abib that we just had. C code. Let me see here. Shalom, Chief and Rabbi. This upcoming feast, will it begin on the 17th?
It'll begin on the evening of the 16th. So the day portion will be the 17th, but again, with days beginning in the evening, so as from evening to evening would be a day. So the evening of the 16th, which is this coming Wednesday, which will coincide with the 15th day of the 7th month on the Hebrew calendar. So again, that's the 16th day in the evening, begins the Holy Convocation, and will end on the 17th day at evening.
Hallelujah. Things they don't discuss in church. Revelations 21, verses 2 to 3, the New Testament prophesied that God will dwell, Sukkot booth, with mankind in New Jerusalem. That comes down from heaven. That's a statement more so than a question. Shalom, how do we get lulav and etzrog?
So depending on where you live, if there are any, primarily if you can get them from Jewish communities, because they will be they're actually selling them from today. No, yeah, they're selling it from today. So you can get them if you're near a Jewish community. They will be out there in their markets, on their sidewalks, in the streets, etc., selling those items that you can purchase to bring into your booth. And beyond that, if you happen to have
Amazon.
well, if you want to go that route and just have it delivered, you could do that as well. That gets into a whole different discussion, ordering online for those that may not want to, for those that want to, quote unquote, halakhic, lulau etrogim, you could actually get it online, Amazon or other places. Or if you happen to know of or have any, what we would know today as Beta Israel communities, or what is known, those that migrated out of Ethiopia. So if you happen to have any of the Israelites that were a part of that Ethiopian captivity in your neighborhood or around your neighborhood, they would also be doing the same thing. The Beta Israel in their communities do the same thing. So either of those communities, you'll be able to get those things.
Let me see here. C. Cole, Shalom, Chief Uzi Alewi, and Chief Rabbi Binyamin, with all the Kwadosh holy season, which state that we cannot eat the food bread on the third day. Is it the Passover feast of unleavened bread feast Sukkot? B fast Sukkot? I'm not understanding
In
that.
terms of no, there are no days that say you can't eat past the third day. There are offerings that you can't eat on the third day. So if we can't do offerings today, but for many of the offerings, many of the peace offerings, when they're presented, they have to be eaten on the first day and the second day, and on the third day, whatever remains of it has to be burned. And then there are certain types of peace offerings that can only be eaten on that first day and can't be eaten on the second day. But that's again in regards to offerings. But when it comes to regular foods, those can be eaten as long as it's fit for consumption and won't make you sick.
I used to buy it from the Jews, but can I gather the 4 kinds from here? I don't know where here is at, but you could gather the 4 kinds wherever. Right, Rabbi?
Yeah, if you have it available, like the etrog is basically a citron. That's the actual
It's a
name of
lemon. It's an oversized lemon, man.
or the original lemon. Before we
Yes,
get
it's
into
the
that
original
discussion, the
lemon.
original lemon. And the lulau are basically the myrtle branches, the palm branch, and the willow.
The original lemon that's not indigenous to the Holy Land. Say that part too.
The original lemon from when, if you want to talk about creation and the migrations of the citron becomes the lemon and lime and all the other types of stuff that has occurred today. So, but yes, it looks like a large lemon.
Me and the rabbi, only reason I'm doing this because me and the rabbi argue about this all the time. So
you can get that. You can actually get the myrtle, if you have myrtle trees available, you could get the myrtle branches from there. If you have the palm branches near, you could get that from, and the willows, same thing. Yes, in terms of getting it from Jewish communities or any communities or Amazon or anywhere online, it is a commercial thing at this point. But if you can get it yourself, then get it yourself. But in reality, what we read, especially in Nehemiah, those items were collected in order to build the booth. But there's nothing wrong with collecting the items that actually have it as handheld items to rejoice before your whole God as well.
So what palm tree did they use? Did they use the palm oil tree or did they use a coconut tree?
Now, well, whatever was grown in the desert, which is probably
palm oil.
Yeah, the palm, yeah, the standard palm tree.
But not the coconut palm tree.
I mean, that would suffice today. If they had that in the desert, then, but chances are they probably didn't have that particular one where they were at. So, but whatever is indigenous to your area that will satisfy a palm, you can use that. But if you're living in North America, oak trees, cedar trees, well, they have cedar trees in the Middle East, but oak trees, cedar trees, all those trees are still, pine trees are still good to collect in order to build a booth.
All right. Adding a second day to holy days, is that adding to the law?
So adding a second day and saying that it is a holy convocation of Jehovah God is adding to the law. Doing anything in terms of a precaution, and you're not saying that it's the law to do it, and it becomes just a tradition, that's not adding to the law. So the problem comes in, in regards to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2, and adding or taking away from the law of God is when you actually say that this is the law of God, or taking away from something, then saying Jehovah God said that this is no longer useful.
Hi, Chief. Can outsider be invited to D.C.B during this season if we don't have a booth? I live in a veteran building and there is a lot of rules and regulation. Not that I don't mind breaking them. Yeah, you're invited to D.C.B. You come anytime to D.C.B. We're going to be at 1098 Utica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, for this. The name of the place is called Top Civic. I don't type that fast, so I'm a one-finger typer. Top Civic Center. You're welcome. The B46 stops right in front of the place. You're all invited if you can make it. Can I substitute the 4 kinds with locally grown stuff? I think you just said that, right? You gave the answer to that.
Yeah, you could find something local. Again, people just do it as a business today.
Right.
And again, when it comes to certain traditions or halakhic ways of doing it, they look for certain looks and smells of the citron and the certain looks of the palm branches. But again, it's just a matter of collecting the items and building the booth. And that would be the requirement, for the law.
Yeah, like I say, most cities grow willows. You just got to go by water. Most willows will be grown by water, right? That's usually that actual tree that grows the branches, but the branches start hanging down low. Those are the willows. Those are easy to I don't know, Rabbi, maybe you could find a willow and show it to them, a willow tree, and you could share it.
Yeah.
What's the next tree? The palm.
Yeah.
If you don't have a palm oil tree, then just use a palm, coconut palm tree. I mean, there's a palm tree. Get you some lemons and limes. The rabbi gonna kill me. Get you some lemons and lime. And what's the 4th one? The myrtle, right?
Yeah, the myrtle. Yeah, so there's the myrtle, the willow, the palm.
All right, so show them what the willow and the myrtle look like, because I believe the myrtle is the what? The evergreen, right?
No, actually, so let me do this. So I was doing the willow.
Yeah, do the willow, show it to them, and then show them a myrtle, and then that way they might have that right in their neighborhood. They might not have a palm tree in their neighborhood, but you could go to flower shops and places like that and get palm leaves and stuff like that, and make your own thing. And buy you 4 lemons for $1, and you good to go.
So this is like a willow tree. It's not, but you can actually pick these. Actually doing a search of willow, pull up the movie for those that remember that movie.
But willows are usually close to a body of water.
Yeah.
They're usually close to a body of water. It's easily
Yeah.
recognizable when you see it.
This is
All
a
right.
willow tree.
All right.
Another one. Actually, I just need to. So all of these that you see on the top row, forget about the movie on the second row. All of these that you see in the top row are willow trees. And for myrtle, just in case something wrong pulls up, let me.
I hear you. You don't want the people thinking wrongly about the rabbi.
Nah, I don't know it's gonna come up if I type myrtle.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm doing a search. Say so.
So while you're doing that, someone may love say, if you live in a building, if you live in an apartment building, you can't build a booth. What do you do to be observant? Can you make a mimic booth in your apartment? There's two things. There are people who build booths on fire escapes. I don't know if your apartment building has that. The courtyard or the backyard of the building, if they allow them. And if push come to shove, just pop up a little tent inside your living room or something. That is all good.
And if you know somebody nearby, depending on where you live,
Right.
you can visit their booth each of the 7 days.
There you go.
Because as we read in Nehemiah, they were just putting them up everywhere, courtyards, tops of houses. So and people just if you see them around, just
So I'm not really familiar with the myrtle tree.
It is the myrtle. Yeah, I'm trying to get this. Might be a closer.
Okay, it's like a bush.
Now it's like you cut the little branches off.
Right. So it's not a tree; it's a bush.
Somewhat, yes.
Because I see trees and I see a bush. So which one is it?
It's actually the one that's on the right hand side, particularly that is a myrtle
tree.
Well, so myrtle tree, so to speak. But these are something like this you might see around. So in the book, so just as
those are like the
you see them all.
Say something. They use them during Xmas time too.
So as it mentions here, Leviticus chapter 23. This is literally what it says. And you shall, verse 40, and you shall take on the first day the fruit of goodly trees, the branches of palm trees, the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Jehovah your God 7 days. So the specifics here are only the palm tree and the willows of the brook. But when it comes to the boughs of thick trees, you have it's broad. So when it comes to boughs of thick trees, it's broad. So anything like I mentioned, cedar tree, oak trees,
whatever
anything
you have near to you.
Yeah, you can use.
You have near to you, but they traditionally use the myrtle.
Right.
All right. You see, that's why you need a resident rabbi to actually help you along. May love, if you live in we answered that. I live near the freeway out near Deers and the river in Ohio. Well, you should have a lot of myrtle trees out there. You should be good. So it seems like we're good here. Thanking the creator of heaven and earth for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thank you all for tuning in, for allowing us to reach you in your living room. As you see, I left all the information for where we're going to be on the 17th in the daytime portion of the observance. In the night, we're going to be actually at 382 Hamilton, which is Bay D.C.B. We usually bring it in the night, and that's what we do. So thank you all once again for joining us. Remember, to press the like button doesn't cost you anything, so just press the like button and share. And also, what do you say? Give me 1 second here, because I did give out the information to the email, and I want to make sure that nothing came in through the email. Nope. So thank you all for joining us. And your palm tree is the challenge, but you could get palm tree, the leaves. You could get those from like a flower shop and stuff like that. They carry that stuff. So you could go in there. You don't need like a whole leaf. You just need a few of them, and you bind it. Rabbi, explain it to them. You bind them all together. Find
Yeah,
the
you can
string.
find, once you get the palm leaf, the myrtle branch, and the willow. You can bind those together. Usually it's bound with just one of the strip of the palms. You can strip them off because they strip off in the leaves. You can bind those three together, and then the fourth kind, which is actually what they would use today, the citron or the lemon. That would be separate, and that's how you have your 4 kinds.
Hallelujah. So thank you all once again. Don't forget to donate if you can. Remember, we don't charge anyone for anything, and we don't ask anyone for any money to stream these things, but we do ask for donations. We do ask you to donate to us. Also, our new Cash App is money symbol, BEIT DACOBI, bait.cobi, all right? That's money symbol BEIT DACOBI, all right, the Kobe, bait.cobi. Thank you all for allowing us to reach you. Once again, we thank the creator of heaven and earth for all things and everything, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, for allowing us to be here once again. May everyone have a beautiful feast. We will be in the midst of the feast next week when we return, and I guess we will be speaking about Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day solemn assembly next week. So as I say these words, I pray that the Most High God will bless us all. Hallelujah. Yivareka Yehovah Yishmareka. Ya'ir Yehovah Panawaleka Wikuneka. Yisa Yehovah Panawaleka Weasamlaka Shalom. May Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. May Yehovah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Amen. Shalom, shalom, family. May the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, be with you all. Hallelujah. Blessed be.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the